Good morning, and thank you all for joining us today for Realtor Safety Matters. I'd like to introduce to you Helen with SafeShowings and also Pittsburg Lieutenant James Terry. And if I can have our president, or if you'd like me to introduce, we have William Che, please, if you can unmute yourself, if that's okay. If not, I can do that for you. Introduce yourself.
Good morning, everyone. Sorry that I'm strapped into my car, but I'm heading to my BOD meeting right now. But I wanted to absolutely show support. I think what you guys at Delta are doing for Realtor Safety Month is not only important, but just an amazing member benefit to your members. And I'm just very happy to be here. So thank you for inviting me.
Thank you, Will. And I see Leslie is joining us from Central Mendocino. And sorry to put you on the spot, Leslie, but if you're able to join us and introduce yourself.
I'm Leslie Langford. I'm the AE with Coastal Mendocino Association of Realtors.
Thank you, Leslie. So before we get started, I do want to just mention some of the highlights here for the statistics from National Association of Realtors. So typically, realtors meet with prospective clients in a neutral location about 65% of the time. 71% of the residential realtors say that they have personal safety protocols in place that they follow with every client. And it's more likely among female realtors than among male realtors that have this. 52% of residential realtors have participated in a self-defense class, which we have one of those coming up this Thursday in Brentwood at Twin Tigers Academy. And our education chair, Valerie, will give you more information about that at the end of our presentation. 47% of men and 58% of women realtors carry a self-defense weapon or tool. And among those who participated in a Realtor Safety course, 66% feel that they are more prepared for unknown situations after taking a Realtor Safety course. So today we wanted to have this in conjunction with National Association of Realtors September Safety Month to help educate you and bring you information that's available to us as a Realtor community. We have apps that are in place that are either part of our membership packages or subscriptions that we can purchase in addition to what we have as our member benefits. In addition to that, we wanted to invite Pittsburg Police Lieutenant James Terry to help us out and give us pointers on what can keep us safe. So proactive and reactive measures from all three presenters today so that it can help you out on our day-to-day basis doing business. So with that, I'd like to go ahead and invite Helen with SafeShowings. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm very sorry. Hold on. Lieutenant, would you like to go first with time permitting, or are you okay with Helen going first?
Oh, I'm free, so I'll go last.
Okay.
I'm your guys' guest, so whenever you want me, I'll go.
Thank you, Lieutenant. Okay, Helen, we can go ahead and share screen and go ahead and take it away.
Wonderful. Thank you. It's my honor to be here, part of the panel, to share with you my passion for realtor safety. What you'll hear first, it's a short video. Think of it as a commercial. And as Virginia was just mentioning, some other NAR statistics that I read recently, and you might be able to relate to, is 45,000 realtors are victims of crime. They have survived that attack, but they've been victims of crime. 400,000 do not have a safety plan. 300,000 have felt fear working alone, and that's part of my story. That's what inspired me to create SafeShowings. I have a short video that's about a minute long that gives you an overview of our app. Then I'll share with you what happened to me 5 years ago that inspired me to create SafeShowings. I'll highlight what makes the app different, how you can use it, the best practices for being proactive about safety. Then there's a video that's about 2 minutes long. It gives you an overview of how the app works, how easy it is to use. If you can press buttons, you can use SafeShowings. And after the video plays, I'll answer questions we commonly hear that also kind of help reiterate why it's important to be proactive about your safety. Certainly want to answer any questions you have as well. So we'll go ahead and start.
Did you know that over 760,000 real estate professionals have had situations where they feared for their safety when they enter a property alone with a stranger? The SafeShowings mobile app was developed by a realtor to give real estate professionals proactive control over their own safety. It is quick and easy to record names, automatically capture exact GPS addresses, and it prompts you to capture a secure image of each potential buyer's face, a feature unique to SafeShowings. Over 200 real estate professionals have been murdered in the last decade while showing homes to prospective buyers. SafeShowings provides protection and peace of mind for real estate agents, homeowners, and potential buyers as it aims to deter crime before it starts. With SafeShowings, real estate professionals and their loved ones feel more secure, knowing that SafeShowings will automatically notify them with identifying details and geolocation in an emergency. For more information, visit SafeShowings.com. Find SafeShowings in the App Store or Google Play today and start feeling safe during showings and open houses.
5 years ago, this past March, I was a new realtor here in Charleston, South Carolina. I'd had my license for about 6 months, and I set an appointment to meet a buyer at a property on a Saturday at 2. And when I drove up to the neighborhood, the hair on the back of my neck stood up. It just didn't feel like a safe area. But I parked my car. I waited for the buyer to arrive. He arrives. We go in the home, and I left the door open. We're always taught to have an exit strategy. This was a small house. I stood towards the entrance of the home. He went to the back of the home, and he was on his cell phone. A minute later, a truck drove up. 2 men jumped on the porch. That's when my heart stopped. I thought, oh my gosh, nobody knows where I am or who I'm with. Thankfully, I was given a second chance, and I'm here to tell the rest of the story. What happened was they were driving by, they saw the for sale sign, they saw the realtor magnet on my car. They noticed the door was open, so they thought it was an open house. I regained my composure, gave them my business card, told them I was working with a buyer and to call me for an appointment. I was the lucky one. Unfortunately, over 200 realtors have been murdered in the last decade. And my why is to bring a solution to our industry to deter crime and save lives. I read the stories of the faces that you see on the screen. I know it's hard to see in a virtual, but I created a binder, and that's my reason for doing what I do. The 200 people that have been murdered didn't get a second chance like I did. And I know if they could speak to you today and to me, they would tell you when they set the appointment with a buyer or a seller on the phone, they didn't know they would lose their life when they went to go help someone. I also think it's interesting to note that the 16 faces of the 200 you see here, half are men. That's not a coincidence. I didn't put it together that way. I think that sends a strong message. In fact, NAR tells us there's statistics that show men are, because they don't think they should be vulnerable, are more vulnerable in some ways. And as you know, it's Realtor Safety Month. You probably know about Beverly Carter. Hopefully you've seen her son speak. Carl, if you haven't, I highly recommend that. We're friends. We've done podcasts together. And he said, Helen, I think if my mom had SafeShowings, that might have deterred the crime from happening. That's why I do what I do. But we're the only ones that are at risk. We could put listing clients at risk, not on purpose, but imagine your house is on the market. I could bring somebody in not knowing they have a criminal background or intentions. They can look and see where your security systems are, where your child's bedroom is, where you store your valuables, and they could come back in 2 weeks or 2 months and harm you and your family. I think we should think about the homeowner's protection as well. Right out of college in 1986, I managed apartments in Sterling, Virginia. I think it's interesting that even the apartment industry that rents apartments and shows empty apartments is ahead of us. in terms of safety. We would make our renter that wants to see an empty apartment surrender a driver's license. We knew if we held on to their identification in the front office, more than likely when they're working alone with our leasing agent, they would return back to the office to capture or recover their identification. The number one fear a criminal has is getting caught, not the punishment for their crime. So we have to think like they do and be proactive about safety. We represent the largest commodity people buy, a house where children live and valuables are stored, and there's no process. Law mandate that we do as an industry to deter crime, and that should change. These are the products on the NAR website. And when that happened to me 5 years ago, I was hoping I could find something that tells every buyer and seller I'm in control of my safety in a professional way. And it solved that feeling of fear I felt when I said nobody knows where I am or who I'm with. Most of the products can alert your emergency contacts where you are if something happens. However, 5 years ago, standing on the porch with 3 men, if they had intentions to kill me, all that does is tell my 3 emergency contacts where to tell the coroner to go pick up the body. It's too late. It's not good enough. To be proactive about safety, you have to be in control. You have to start from the moment you're setting your appointments in the safety of your office. We all set appointments with buyers and sellers, usually from the safety of our office. That's when you start your safety process. You tell them that you use SafeShowings. It's a Realtor Safety app, and you're required to take a photo. Or if you carry a concealed permit and a weapon, you can professionally tell people that too. Remember, a criminal's worst fear is getting caught, not the punishment. So if you professionally tell your buyers and sellers, I carry a concealed permit and a weapon, I hope I never, ever have to use it. But if I'm a criminal or I have intentions to commit my first crime, I don't see you as an easy target if I know you carry a weapon. Doesn't that make sense? Same thing if you want to do a reverse lookup to see if there's any criminal history on someone. You need to tell them you're doing it for many reasons. For safety, number one, but also code of ethics and fair housing violations. But more importantly to me is if you let people know ahead of time, hey, I look forward to meeting you Saturday at 2. I just want you to know we're required to run a reverse lookup before we meet with people. It's just the world we live in. If I'm a criminal and I hear that, I'm going to say, well, they're going to see some red flags. I'm not going to work with that person. They're in control of their safety. I'm going to hang up the phone and dial another realtor. Or let's say you don't tell people you're running the background check or the reverse lookup. You just do it automatically and they've never committed a crime. So you could show up with a false sense of safety and you become their first victim. It's so important to tell people what you do for safety before you meet with them. So we tell our partners to tell their members, hey, we use SafeShowings. It's a Realtor Safety app, and we're always required to take a photo before we enter a property. It's just the world we live in. Make it comfortable. We also have a safety toolkit that has about 35 talking point graphics that you can share with your members that kind of reiterate the safety best practices. Again, start the conversation in the safety of your office, letting them know you use SafeShowings and that you're required to take a photo. Then you arrive to the property early. Whether you're working with a buyer or a seller for a listing appointment, you arrive early, you start the app in the safety of your car. The timer starts, and then the next thing our app will ask you is, who are you meeting with? That's a key component that helps us catch a criminal if a crime's committed. So you auto-populate that just by touching their name. There's nowhere in our app that you have to type anything. It knows where you are and who you're with just by you touching on that contact name. The next thing happens is you're there for the working with the seller, you go ring the doorbell. Hey, as I mentioned, I just need to get a quick photo. You take a quick photo. If it's 2 people, it's 1 picture. The actionable step is what can save your life. If it's someone driving up to see a house, you're working with a buyer, you've already got the app running. You put in the app who you're with. You greet them when they get out of the car and you just say, hey, as I mentioned, I just need to get a quick photo. It's a family of 4. It's 1 picture. We have rider signs, open house flyers that our partners have access to. This tells everyone that has a listing, if they're using the rider sign, it tells people driving by that listing agent cares about safety. I'm going to remember that when I sell my house. but it tells every criminal going by, wow, it looks like that house might be monitored. They've got a security system and cameras. There's a chance I might get caught. They're not an easy target. I don't think I'll risk getting caught. Here's a quick demo of how the app works.
By downloading the SafeShowings app, you're proactively preparing to take advantage of more secure client contact when conducting open houses and showing appointments. Start by entering the emergency contacts of your choice, like friends, your broker, or family members. It's an easy one-step process. The app features an easy-to-adjust timer feature that will alert your emergency contacts if you've not responded during the time frame you expect. When showing properties, the app will track your exact location via the GPS feature. You can autofill your appointments information right from the contacts in your phone. You can see that the app provides significant safety at this point, but there's more. When first meeting with the appointment, use your phone to snap a photo of the client. Research demonstrates that this approach is the best way to deter criminal behavior. Now your contacts will be notified if you don't check in based on the timer, and identifying information based on the photo from your showing. All of these features give you accountability for safely doing business during your showings and open houses. Following each showing, the app gives you the opportunity to make a record of the appointment. The app provides free form notes that the app will store for you. By the way, the SafeShowings app saves all the information from each showing so that you can go back and review your opportunities for sales. The open house feature provides the same great security options. Always be sure to get the facial image for all contacts during the open houses. There is a handy 5-star rating system for your showing contacts. This, along with your notes, can alert you and others of potential problems from a suspicious person or from any previous showing.
Usually people will ask some of the same questions, and I think they're important to answer. So I spent a couple minutes just going through the common questions. People ask, why are you so passionate about getting an image of a face? The second question, what do the buyers and sellers say when we tell them on the phone before we meet with them that we use a safety app and we're required to take a photo? Third question is, where's the image go? The image of the face, the first version of our app, I was passionate about getting an image of a driver's license. That came from my property management background. And I went to the NAR conference that following May to observe, get ideas before we traveled for 2 years to promote SafeShowings. I was up early. I wanted breakfast and coffee, and there's this guy standing there in the top of the stairs, and he looks like Duck Dynasty, and he said, "Who are you? I saw you on the airplane. I saw you 2 more times. I told myself if I saw you again, I was going to find out who you are and what you do." Well, he became my business partner. When we were sitting in Charleston in his office, he said, "Why are you getting an image of a driver's license?" I told him why. He said, "You need to get an image of a face." And I never thought of that when we were in the first development phase. Never crossed my mind to use the camera on our phone. And anyway, he said, think about it. When you tell somebody you're going to take a picture, they can't fake that, right? Who looks like their driver's license? And when you arrive, you've already told them use the safety app and you're going to take a photo, and you get out of the safety of your car, the app's running. They can't say they forgot their face. So that's why we get an image of a driver's license. And we gave this presentation to the chief of police in Charleston, and he said, "You're making our job so much easier." And the second question we hear is, what do the buyers and sellers say when we tell them in a professional way that we use a safety app? They understand. If you reverse the role and you're sincere about buying or selling in today's world, and someone professionally tells you that they use a safety app and they have to take a photo, you're going to respect that person. You're going to remember them when you sell your house too. If they push back, that should be a red flag. That should make the hair on the back of your neck stand up and make you think, wow, if they're this upset about me caring about safety, do I really want to work with them alone? But we've had roundtable discussions with local realtors. We all agree, whether you're a realtor, buyer, or seller, we're on social media, we're going by doorbell cameras, we're going by ATMs and public buildings, and your video of you is out there and your photos are out there. So it's not uncommon. And the third question, where does the image go? It goes to our cyber secure cloud. And that's important because If you follow the process we teach, you've told them on the phone before you meet with them, use a safety product, you're going to take a photo. You arrive early, you start the app in the safety of your car. The app asks you, who are you meeting with? And again, if you can touch buttons, you can use this. You touch on their name, it goes into the app. If it's working with the buyer, you're getting ready to ring the doorbell, something happens and they destroy your phone. Your 3 emergency contacts will still be sent the last location of the phone, who you're with, an image. If you were able to capture an image of their face, they'll receive that as well. So it's a good feature to have it going to the cybersecure cloud. The app starts at 45 minutes and counts down. We had to pick a time frame where you're not calling for help accidentally too often, but give you enough time to get in and out of one showing, which is on average 20 minutes. But if you need more time, just keep resetting that timer. Street by street, road by road, if you have multiple properties to show, it's going to update as you're driving. It knows exactly where you are. It's GPS smart. I don't know how it works. I just work with developers that know how to create that. But as soon as you put the car in park, it saves your second address. The menu section's where I would have pressed the emergency alarm button 5 years ago. I don't want to wait 19 minutes to call for help. It'll call 911 in 10 seconds, and it sends your 3 emergency contacts, your exact location, who you're with, and an image of their face. During open houses, we don't know who's coming. We can't do a reverse lookup of people coming into an open house, and we really can't have a short, quick conversation at the last minute about safety when you meet a stranger. That's why you do it in the safety of your office. So open houses, you don't know who's coming. The way you handle it, you greet them outside or at the door and just say, hey, the homeowner has required that I be accountable. I just need to get a photo. If there's 10 people, it's 1 picture. It's not complicated. If one person in that crowd has criminal intentions and they know that they can be their picture's been taken and that it could be tracked back to them, that they committed some type of crime in that house, they're going to be deterred. They're not going to want to harm you or the person that owns that home. Our app tracks and knows exactly all your showings, your listing appointments, or working with buyers, as the person's name, the address, the date, and the time. If you saw in the video, there is a CRM section where you can write buying in September, but you can skip that. You don't have to type anywhere. You just press buttons. At the very end, it asks you, how did you feel working with that person from a safety standpoint? We're building a database across our industry. I was working with Kim Paul. Everything runs on unique cell phone number. She comes to your market and your members saying, hey, just want to let you know we use SafeShowings. It's a Realtor Safety App. We're required to take a photo. She's probably going to interrupt you and say, I know about the app. I worked with somebody in Charleston. Even if she doesn't, another best practice tip, after you set your appointments, you hang up the phone, you press the create showing button. The app will say, who are you meeting with? You touch on Kim Paul's name and number. It goes into the app and you see 1 realtor has rated the client, just like Uber and Lyft. If we're all following a process for safety, you're not working with the criminal. They're looking for easy targets. If I did have a negative situation, I would have to give at least 1 star, just like Uber and Lyft. And I would go to the optional note section and say, call me. I want to tell you what happened when I was working with this person. If your timer runs out, you got the 5-minute warning it's down to 5 minutes, and we send you a text that pops up to the top no matter what you're looking at. And it says, do you want to reset your timer? You're about to alert your emergency contacts. If you ignore that and the time runs out, your 3 emergency contacts will be sent at the same time, a text message saying there might be a problem. There'll be a 3D image and an exact address of where you are, the person's name you're with. We have their cell phone in our cyber secure cloud, and an image that you take. Hopefully you took a picture of someone's face and not a squirrel or something like that. But seriously, that's why the image is so important. That's pretty much the presentation as far as how the product works. No matter what you're using for safety, it's critical that you let people know that you have a plan so that you're going to be able to deter crime. That's what we need to do to keep everyone safe. And so you get back home to your family and you're able to work and enjoy your career. That's all I have. I don't want to take up too much time. I'll turn this back over for, how do I do that? Oh, stop share. There we go. Happy to answer any questions though.
I did have, there was something in the past, like, so out here in Contra Costa County or East Contra Costa County, We have 3 broker touring groups each week. And each one usually has their own Facebook page, a private Facebook page group. I do recall at one point that somebody had posted that they had ran into a gentleman that was calling people. I want to say mainly female realtors to try to set appointments with them. And so they mentioned, I don't think they mentioned just too much information just yet. They just said, we're getting a call. If you get a call from this number, I just want to warn you, you know, it's kind of, and so everybody, some more people started chiming in, and it was almost like he was doing that to many people, at least 6 or 7 agents that he had done that to. So I like the SafeShowing app, because you can kind of do the same thing like Uber and Lyft and rate that person. I'm glad that we do that on our Facebook page. But I don't know how many people actually use Facebook all the time. So I'm not sure if anyone on this call saw that posting. I want to say it was within the last 12 months or so. But that's somewhat how we've seen it getting around, or the information or notices going around. Like I mentioned in the beginning of our session today, there is a neighboring association that has had incidences with realtors that are going and touring homes during the day, or holding an open house during the day during this touring group, that have been assaulted. And so, and that happened within the last 3 to 4 months. So it's really important that we get this information out. They are neighboring associations, so they're nearby. I'm not sure if we've had any reports in for anything like that happening, but it's really important. And it's a good thing that in our association, or in our area, I should say, we happen to tour in groups as a caravan. So that helps. And I think this other association kind of was like a go at your own. You know, they didn't really have you tour in groups. So that's another way that we've been doing this for many years and continue to do this. So I'm glad that we continue this practice, touring as a group, because it does keep us safe. However, for open houses, when you're sitting there alone, we do encourage you to bring in either another realtor or a lender or somebody else to sit at the house with you. So that's a scary situation, because you really don't. Appointments, at least we know we're setting an appointment with somebody. We just don't know what can happen if they happen to call somebody else and have them meet us at a property without us knowing. But at an open house, you are a sitting duck. You have your signs all out. Most likely you're promoting it online, so they see who you are. And then the door's open, so anything can happen. And that's, for me, that's a scary part of our business, is open homes. Holding a house open is, you really don't know who's going to come through that front door. Jody, if you're on this, I see your hand up. And before, if you can unmute yourself, I also want to say, Jody brought something up too, and I hope she shares it. She was doing an open house, and she went and talked to some of the homeowners around, or the residents around there. So if that's not the story you were going to share, Jody, if you can also touch on that as well.
No, it was actually the story. So I don't hold open house alone. I always make sure that I have a lender or my husband or somebody with me. But what I do get is sometimes you'll get that random phone call. They saw the sign in the neighborhood and they want to go see it. So this particular incident, I have a male that called and said, I just drove by your listing and I see it. I'm in the neighborhood. And I asked him, do you have a realtor? I said, no. Have you been pre-approved? He said, no, I'm going to be paying all cash. I said, can you forward me your driver's license? He said, yes, which he did. I said, I can meet you there. And I said, 40 minutes. And then what I did is I got there in 20 minutes and I went next door to the neighbor and I told him that I was meeting somebody that I did not know. I did have her driver's license. So forth. So I gave them all the information and then asked them just to kind of keep an ear out. So that's what I did, is this random phone call. Everything ended up being legit. Everything was fine. But the fact that I went next door, told the neighbors what was happening and exchanged phone numbers and everything else. So that was my experience. And that was just like 3 weeks ago.
I've had 2 of my listings get robbed in the last 5 years. One, my homeowner, again with the photos, so we take a picture of all the rooms in the home and you see all their electronics and big TVs and everything that's out there. One homeowner had the same routine every day. I was not aware of this. About a week into us being on the market, they tracked her. They knew how long she was going to be gone from the house, from 10 to 11 a.m. They went in through the back door, the sliding door, went in, took all the electronics, ripped them straight from the wall, and within about 10 or 15 minutes, completely wiped out jewelry, all of this. She came home and noticed that the front door was slightly ajar and didn't want to go in, immediately called me. We called the police. This was in Antioch, and we go in there and we're just waiting, and that was it. They asked her, do you do this routine every day? And she said, every day, religiously, every day, same thing. She leaves the house at the same time, goes on the same walk, comes home at the same time. And they knew it. The other one, I was holding an open house. We had too many people in there at the same time, too many groups. Open house was done. I made sure I locked up, closed all the windows, locked everything up. About an hour or so after the open house, I got a phone call from the homeowner stating that their laptop was stolen. They had it tucked underneath the bed in the master bedroom, and so that was gone. And again, like tracking people that come in, not everybody signs in with their real name, not everybody gives their information. So unfortunately, that was another incident that happened. So from my personal experience, mine has always been that something happens to the homeowners, not to myself personally, but the homeowners are getting robbed during their home being on the market. At this time, if I can ask Lieutenant, if you're able to give us any pointers, or if you've had any incidences that you've heard of in the past.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to follow Helen because she gave all the pointers already. So I'll try to give some other practical advice. So I'll cover some do's and some don'ts that I kind of brainstormed over the last couple of days, as well as some preventative measures that I think are important to keep in mind, and also some details or facts to take note of when you do need to call the police in order to help solve the crime. So first and foremost, I would tell you anything that, or what I tell any business owner, do comply with someone who is there, and they're there to rob and or burglarize or steal. No amount of property is worth more than your livelihood or you sustaining any serious bodily injury. So if someone is there to steal from you, and a robbery is actually a person standing in front of you using force or fear to take what they want, comply with it. You have to follow rules or values or your company policy. Criminals don't have to follow that policy at all. They're there to get what they want, comply, make sure you're being vigilant in what you're paying attention to. Another do, I would say, is always have the location of your devices turned on. Your iPhone, your Apple Watch. I think AirTags are amazing. I have AirTags in all of my kids' backpacks. I have AirTag in my tractor. I have an AirTag in anything that I think is important that can be stolen, because that's a great tool for law enforcement to find those. Also, we talked about picture taking. Helen talked about picture taking. For my family, I have any picture we take immediately goes to the iCloud. So if your device is taken, it's in the iCloud, and you can go back and you can find whatever you need remotely. And also you can go and delete them afterwards, and then it's out of the iCloud. But I would tell realtors, turn on your iCloud, so as soon as you take a picture or a video, or you find yourself in a situation where this is going to get ugly, you can hit record in your pocket, and it goes to the iCloud so it can be found at a later time. Helen's in South Carolina, so her laws are probably a little different than ours here in California. But Helen talked about concealed carry. And, there's a big misunderstanding in the state of California about how difficult it is to get a weapons permit. It's actually a lot easier than most people think, and that's through the county sheriff. Obviously, you need some training, but if that's something that someone's interested in, it is a lot easier than most people would think. What I would recommend is pepper spray. My wife carries pepper spray. Anyone can carry 2.5 ounces for less of pepper spray. And as someone who's been pepper sprayed before, I can tell you I'd rather get bit by a giant dog than be pepper sprayed. It is a miserable experience. Another couple things I wanted to follow up on that Helen mentioned, doing a background type check. You'd be amazed how many crimes we solve by open source Facebook. Punching in someone's name into just their Facebook, which is public, you can learn a lot about somebody just searching Facebook and someone's name, and you can get an understanding of what type of lifestyle they're living. Also, phone numbers. There's plenty of websites out there. Spokeo is one of them, where you can punch in a phone number into it. There's a small subscription service, and it'll identify the phone number that people are calling to view appointments. And then you can take that information and punch it into an open source. Couple of don'ts. Like I said earlier, comply. Don't sacrifice all you've ever worked for in order to defend yourself against someone who has basically nothing to lose. You've worked hard to become who you are. Don't put up a fist fight somebody or injure yourself or sacrifice your abilities as a mother or a father or a brother or sister or working person to stop someone who has nothing to lose. I can't emphasize the do's and don'ts enough on complying with someone who's there to steal property from you. Helen talked about the hair on the back of her neck. That's something that us in law enforcement talk about all the time. Don't question your instincts. If you're feeling that fight or flight, there's thousands of years of evolution that is built fight or flight in us. If you are feeling uncomfortable about something, there's a reason that your body's telling you that. Pay attention and be aware when you're feeling something's wrong. Chances are 9 out of 10 times something is wrong. And also another thing that we get people to do, when something happens, violent crime happens, or there's a suspect that we can catch, a lot of times people don't call 911 first. They want to call their boss first and say, hey, this happened, or they want to call someone else. Call 911 and get us started that way so we can intervene and we can help. Don't let that be your third call. Let that be your first call so we can at least get started there because we need to come across town. Just a couple other things I want to talk about. Any questions come up on those do's or don'ts or anything that I missed?
On the photos, if I'm feeling a little uncomfortable, I will usually screenshot where I'm at with a friend and then also try to snap a picture of the person's license plate in the car. And then just send that to the person and then just say give me a call if you don't hear from me, or call me in about 10-15 minutes. And if I don't answer, or if I text me, if I don't say that I'm okay or something, call 911, send somebody over my way.
So I'll fast forward a little bit to things to be observant about, and you said cars. So every criminals now are pretty hip to cover your license plate or take the license plate off. But let's say little Pittsburgh, for example, we have 300 cameras in our town that the city owns and has access to. And then there's another several hundred in our shopping centers that we have access to, and then countless Ring doorbells where people have Arlo cameras in their yard. So when we talk about being observant or taking note of a vehicle, a license plate is great, but think about what makes that car distinctive. There's a dent on the left bumper, or there's an Uber sticker in the top left corner, or the tail light is out. The technology is so good now, we can literally type in Uber sticker top left corner, and we can search every car that's driven down Highway 4 in the last 3 months, and it'll pop up, and then we can say brown, and it'll relay it down to brown cars, and then we can put 87 to 93 Honda, and voila, we've got the car that we're looking for. So when we're taking note of vehicles or people, think about things that make them distinctive. Tattoo on the face, car with a dent on it, unique piece of clothing, unique slur that they spoke with. When you're talking about someone's height, what I always tell people, or their weight, do it in relation to one that you're familiar with. You know how tall you are. Think about how tall they are as opposed to you or your spouse or your children. Same thing with weight. The distinctive vehicles. I mean, we solve in Pittsburgh almost every crime that someone uses a vehicle in, because there's something distinct about cars that people drive. Preventative measures. I think this could be categorized a couple different ways: owner-occupied houses and vacant houses. I'd say with a vacant house, lighting at all times. If I were listing a house that's vacant, I would have it lit up 24 hours a day. People want to do crime at night or when they're not seen. Also, Jody talked about talking to neighbors. If there's a vacant house that I had listed, I would definitely go have a relationship with neighbors and say, no one should be in this house unless I'm there or you see someone there. Please call me. If you see people here at odd hours, we will not be showing the house after X amount of time or on these days. Neighbors don't want crime occurring in their neighborhood just as much as you don't. So I think neighbors are a wonderful resource. And we talked about doing like a post open house walk, making sure windows and doors are secure. I think that's, kind of industry standard in your guys' industry, but, criminals here aren't, it's not the sticky bandits from Home Alone. They're not in there to steal china and lamps and everything. They're there to steal electronics. They're there to steal anything that there's a market for to resale. I mean, unless you're talking about kids that are in there to steal stuff for themselves, it's all resale market. So, for an owner-occupied house, before you go in to take, pictures to post or to do an open house, what I know I did when, the couple times I sold houses, was I got anything that showed that I was a police officer or prior military out of there, because they would have known that I had guns. I got my safe out of the house. I left it, with my brother. We took all, non-television devices and took them out of the house, just because that's what people are there to steal. And, Virginia, you mentioned that, someone hid their laptop underneath the mattress. Like that's not removing things, and putting them in a top drawer is not removing things. It's actually pulling them out of the house. But things like, hunters, if someone is clearly a hunter and you're posting pictures of their house and they have a big deer on the wall, well, John Q. Criminal understands, oh, this guy's got a ton of guns, so that's a good house to go into and steal items.
No, that's all good information. That's stuff that I never thought about. Jody, you have your hand up.
Yeah, I wanted to piggyback on, like when I got a copy of the driver's license, I sent that to my client, and I also sent that to my spouse. And then the other thing too is the number one thing that so far we've come across is the item being stolen is medication out of people's homes. And then the next thing, obviously, money, jewelry, guns, value. But so we always tell everybody, yes, if you can remove, just like, Lieutenant Terry said, remove your guns, remove your safes, do all of that stuff, but they can't always remove their medication. And that's one of the biggest things there. So what would you suggest on being able to hide their medications? Is there something that you've come across in your line of work regarding that?
That's actually a great point. I totally missed that. But when I started thinking about crimes, reported crimes in Pittsburgh having to do with houses listed or open houses, it's been medication. So there's a couple ways to get drugs. You can buy them off a drug dealer, you can go rob Walgreens pharmacy, or you can go through somebody's medicine cabinet. So what I I mean, the best thing we do is put it all in a big gallon Ziploc bag and have your client take it with them in the trunk of their car to get it out of the house, because that is there is absolutely a market for that. And the amount of people that use prescription medication, you can't necessarily point them out and say, oh, that person does medication. It's all a span of everybody. So I would say take those with and get them out of the house and have them go with your client.
Thank you.
Thank you. Does anybody on the call have any questions for Helen or our lieutenant before we move on to a very quick presentation from Super Iki? No. Okay, so I'll go ahead. This is a product that we currently have as, oh, Julie, go ahead.
Hi, yeah, I was just, I know you mentioned, Lieutenant, that, that, I'm sorry, I'm just, my brain right now. That, spray, what are they called? The,
Self-defense spray.
yeah, the pepper spray. I know you mentioned that they're legal. I know in some areas like campuses and stuff, college campuses or school campuses, they're illegal to carry. Can you explain to me why?
Well, I'm not a legislator in the state of California, and I have never made a law before.
Just not really.
Yes, there are certain places where you're not allowed to possess, weapons, firearms, pepper spray. However, in the eyes of the law, you never lose your right to self-defense, ever. You can always defend yourself. Now, if your child is carrying pepper spray at, high school, administratively, they may get in trouble by the school for breaking their rule. However, in the eyes of the law, they can't be charged with a crime because you never lose your right to self-defense. In the state of California, if you're over 18, you can possess 2.5 ounces or less of pepper spray, and you can buy that at Dick's. You can buy that at Big Five. Probably buy it at Walmart. It's just a little, and 2.5 ounces is plenty to defend yourself with.
Thank you.
Sandy?
Yeah, in our office, our policy has always been to take a picture of the photo ID, their photo ID, for safety reasons, obviously, and then having it with one of our associates, whether it's our broker or one of our peers. And I like that part because it has their address on it. So I do love the SafeShowings taking the picture, and as long as their phone number is correct, that's great. But then I also like having the address. So I kind of feel like both would be great, so who you're dealing with. I have my Nevada license as well. And in Nevada, we use Forewarn, which I saw your chart. It looks like they're not nearly as good as even some of the other ones on your chart. Helen, thank you so much for that. I really appreciate this opportunity, to be honest. And then, but in the Forewarn, the way that we use it is you put their phone number in, and then it pops up with their confirmed phone name, no address. Oh no, it does have their address on it. And then it will say like criminal records, and you can pay extra to look at what those things are and if they have driving things, so I've been using that one here in Nevada, which has been working really well, but definitely need something else for California, or something in addition, I should say. But thank you so much, both of you, for and Virginia as well.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Okay, I'm gonna play, it's under a 2-minute video from Super Iki, and then I will put the flyer for the step-by-step instructions on how to upload your information in the chat box. And while I'm doing all of that, Helen, if you wouldn't mind, if you can put your contact information on here as well in the chat box. And
Okay.
we'll send you, everybody that attended today, we'll send you contacts and information for the presentations so that you can have that. It's also being recorded, as we stated earlier. So once the link is done uploading, then we can go ahead and send that out with in one complete email for all of you.
Supra is excited to provide Supra e-key alerts.
Tina Trainer, what if I need to let others know where I am or need to get a phone call to get out of a situation?
As an e-key user, you now have the availability to send out an alert with a custom message and a GPS map of where the message was sent, and you don't need to be at the key box to send out an alert. This will be a big win for everyone. First, go to www.supraekey.com. Click on SuperWeb. Now log into SuperWeb. In the quick links to the left of the screen will be e-key alerts. Click on it. Now tap on Enable. Enter your contacts either via email or text messaging. Please notice the examples below to use text messaging. Add your custom message and click Save. Please note it will be important to let your chosen contacts know you are adding them before you enable and save this feature. This is to avoid them opting out. Let me show you how the agent alerts work on your e-key. At the footer of the app, to the left, you will see the icon for agent alerts. If you have gone into SuperWeb and enabled this feature, it will be white. Just press on the icon for 3 seconds, and the alert will be sent to your contacts with your custom message and your GPS location. Provide peace of mind with Supra.
There's one simple hearing hack anyone.
Now, I'm going to go on the record and say, so since this is, many of us subscribe to Supra e-key, so this is part of our member benefits package. I'm going to say I used this once, and 45 minutes after the alert accidentally went off from my key, my emergency contacts were alerted. And I'm laughing because thankfully it was by accident. I wasn't in an emergency situation. However, 45 minutes, guys, 45 minutes went by, and I was in person with 2 of these 3 people, and they said, "Oh, I just got an alert that you were in an emergency situation." So that's too long. So anyhow, even it's part of our membership package for those of us that belong to Bridge MLS. So I will give you the information on here. However, SafeShowings, you got to see what Helen presented today for SafeShowings. Jody, go ahead and unmute yourself. I'm sorry.
So in response to our Super Key alert system, if you are going to be putting contacts in there, ask your emergency contact what's their preference. Do you want to put in their email or do you want to put in their phone number? Not everybody gets notified of their emails right off the bat. So that was I was one of the recipients for Virginia, and I seen that an email come over, but I was out with clients. I didn't look at an email yet. It just said Virginia, so I could go look at it a little bit later. Once I opened it up a little bit later, it was an emergency contact. It's like, holy cow. So I called her and make sure that she was okay. But the fact was that you should tell each other, whoever your emergency contact is, what's your preference? Is it a text message? Is it an email? So then that way you know to look not 45 minutes later, such as I did. So that would be my suggestion when it comes to using the alert.
Yeah, and it wasn't, you weren't the only one that received the message 45 minutes later. It was 2 of the 3 contacts that received it 45 minutes later from the time that alert accidentally went off. So, like I said, I'm thankful that we have that as a member package, but that was a long time to go by for an alert to go out to my emergency contacts.
Actually, I was one of the contacts too, and I think mine was longer than 45 minutes. It was probably a little over an hour.
Yeah, so I'm laughing now. Thankfully, I'm safe. However, if that was an emergency situation, that would not be good. Okay, we are at 2:31. Do we have any questions from our Sandy?
I have one more. I have a question, actually, kind of a survey, or an opinion or whichever. So I've always been taught to close the door when we're showing something, not necessarily during, well, actually, I think believe during an open house as well. But when I'm showing people, it's generally somebody I know or a trusted referral, like 95% of the time. I know who I'm working with. So I will close the door and lock it just so other agents aren't coming in as well, but also people from off the street. What is your opinion on that? Does anybody have a different way of viewing that? Whether you leave the door open or close it?
When I show property with an actual appointment, I always lock the door behind me, because in the past when we were running into those problems with squatters and stuff back when the market first dropped, what was that, 08, 09 to 11, a lot of squatters in properties. So I would go in first, kind of watch and make sure all the lights were on before my client got there. But once we got in, I would always lock the door behind me, because people would try to come in right after us. And I didn't know if they were real estate agents, if they were buyers as well that wanted to see the property without an agent, or if it was just somebody off of the street. So and I still to this day, anytime I'm showing a home, as soon as my client goes through and we walk through, I lock the door.
Right, same here. And also letting pets in or out, actually. So, all right, thank you.
I do the same thing, and it's like it's a judgment call. Myself, just like you, Sandy, 95% of my business is all referral. So you're with a trusted person, and it's that 5% that if we're showing a home, that's where I'll kind of stay by the front door, and I'll let them go and do the home, and I'll stay by the front door. I make sure I have myself an exit.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, unless it is trusted, then I do, just as you and Brittany both mentioned, I will go in and lock the door behind me so no one else comes in. And then that's only when I know that I feel 100% comfortable.
Thank you.
Okay, before we conclude, any other questions, comments? Like I said, we will have this emailed, the live link recording to you with all the contact information and documents that you need. And I'd like to thank Helen from SafeShowings for joining us today, and Lieutenant Terry, thank you so much for all the information that you provided to us. I learned a lot about those unique things on cars or people or their speech. So I would have never thought about that before. So thank you so much. And Leslie from Central Mendocino, thank you so much for joining us.
Can I, Leslie, you are out there by the coast, so do you have any issues out there with any agents?
Well, we've had more vacant land listings, that kind of stuff that popping up. Some issues with some potential alleged buyers, but our members usually talk amongst themselves pretty good, and if there's something they're concerned about. My concern about the apps is that we have, SafeShowings or any app, especially like the Super that you showed, which we also use, is phone reception. So if somebody's at a listing that there's no reception at, is that signal even going to, 45 minutes if you're in cell reception, what is it going to be if you're not? So that's a big concern of mine. I would hate to give members an assumption that they're safe and that they've called somebody's on the way, and well, gee, there's no cell phone reception, so we're kind of nothing's been sent out, nothing been received.
That's a good point. We usually cover that in the presentation. You always role play it the same way. There's different scenarios with cell reception. 3 scenarios. Either you know your market and you know the property ahead of time. There's not going to be cell reception, which all apps do require. So in that scenario, you are proactively telling them on the phone that you use a safety app. And in that case, meet them at the office, meet them at a Starbucks ahead of time. Start the process there. Alert your 3 emergency contacts where you'll be, who you're with, and when to call, check on you. Everything goes into the cyber secure cloud if you started the process with self-service. Second scenario, or better than that, would be to carry a mobile router, a device that gives you self-service at all times. The worst case scenario, you still role played it the way you should, but you're new as a realtor, you don't know the market, you show up early, hopefully, and that's when you can text your 3 emergency contacts. I'm with this person, I'm at this address, check on me by this time. And when they get out of the car, you really don't have the app running. You're right, it doesn't work without self-service, but you still role play it. Hey, as I mentioned, I use a safety app. I just need to take a quick photo. Send that picture to your 3 emergency contacts. Some criminals are smarter than others and they target remote areas. So that's very good subject to bring up.
I didn't think about that either. So I'm going to post our next flyer that you can download for our self-defense class. That is this Thursday, 10 a.m., Twin Tigers Academy in Brentwood. And wear comfortable clothing because it is going to be hands-on. So we are going to be doing some learning some self-defense moves. Those of you that are members will receive a free non-lethal protective tool when we attend. And you can go ahead, the information is there on the flyer. Please download it now, or you can always go to deltaaor.com/events and you'll see our event calendar there and you can register there as well. All right, I am going to now end the recording and I'll end our session.